Truthseeker and or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the Truth Seeker podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark savage!
Streaming live at truthseeker.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark-sided stuff!
And now, your host, Truth Seeker.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, Truth Seeker. This is the Truth Seeker podcast. I'm excited, delighted to be with you guys again today. I really enjoy doing this, man. Coming on here for conscious conversation, talking to people from like every strain of life, every walk of life, people from different backgrounds and stuff. Some people I'm close with, some people I have history with, some people you guys are getting an organic ear in on our first time we're ever speaking. So this interview today is going to be really good. I'm going to be speaking with Vinny Eastwood. We're going to be talking about some cool subjects. I was just on his show last week, and we did a really good interview over there. So excited to kind of pick up the conversation. I can't go any further before I thank the patrons, everybody who enables me to be doing what I'm doing with the music and the podcast and everything that I'm bringing to the table, spiritually, the teachings and all this stuff that I do. Everybody supporting at Patreon. I want to give a quick shout out to the newest patrons that we have this past week. We have Anna Farajal. I know I mispronounced that. Thank you, Anna, for coming on board. My good friend Jeremy Griffith, who came on board. Ashley Ray and Jan Cobb. Thank you to the latest people who have joined on forces with me on Patreon. I couldn't do this without you guys, so thank you so much for believing in my work and making it known. So if you would like to support, want to hear more podcasts, hear more music, get exclusive rewards and things like that, head on over to patreon.com/truthseeker. There you can sign up for as little as $1 a month, and $1 goes a long way. It really does. And you get access to extra podcasts, behind the scenes stuff, my full discography of music. I just put out a new album. We had an album release party this past Friday, and it was beautiful. So you get access to that new album, which is available there, plus like 10 plus albums that I have under my belt, all available there on Patreon. You also get access to what we do on Thursday nights. This is Thursday Night School of the Mystics, which is tonight. For those of you listening live in the chat room, we'll be doing the School of the Mystics tonight. Is essentially the community behind the podcast. And so for just listening week to week, a lot of people feel like this is their church meeting. Like they get spiritually fed by the conversations and the things that we get into. And so it really takes it to the next level where you get to meet some of the people who are involved, some of the supporters, and get to spend time with me as well. I'm available there, and we've been going through some courses and stuff together the last few weeks. And so we're going to be doing that tonight. And yeah, we're going to be doing activation, prayer, studying, and it's really focusing on hearing the voice of the Holy Spirit speaking to us and moving in that realm. So it's been really good. So if that's what you want, you're looking for a community, you're looking to take your walk to the next level and have nobody to talk to, trust me, you're not alone. There's many people out there just like you, and I'm one of them. And so we all congregate Thursday nights, 7 p.m. Central at the School of the Mystics. Make sure you check that out. I'm excited about that. So really good stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my guest in. This is Mr. Vinny Eastwood of The Vinny Eastwood Show. Welcome to the podcast, my brother. How you doing?
Well, somewhat fabulous is my standard response.
Standard response. This interview maybe almost didn't happen today, man. You've been having a rough day. What's going on?
Rough night, rough morning. Can't really talk about it on air, actually. come to think of it. You know?
Cases are pending?
Well, it's not so much that. It's just, when you do something for somebody and you don't feel appreciated or like you have a relationship with somebody and you're always giving them something, but they're never giving you anything back. It's kind of like one of those type thing.
I've been involved in a few of those even of recently. So good thing to kind of break free and get out of those, man. I think that's something that holds a lot of people back, holds a lot of people down when you're putting out energy and effort and work, but you're not getting it back. You know, you'll give your last dime, you give the shirt off your back to someone, and then you're not supposed to let your right hand know what your left hand's doing, but I mean subconsciously, like if you have a friendship or this camaraderie with people, you would kind of expect the same thing back, like, hey, I'm going out of my way for you, and then when I'm in a time of need, maybe you'll be there for me, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Who are all your best friends? Your best friends are the ones who are reliable with, who give you something when you ain't got it, and you give it to them when you got it and they don't. Right?
Exactly.
That's what friends and support is really all about. When it's all flowing one way.
Yep.
Nah.
Yep. So thanks for coming on with me again. We've talked a couple times now. I've been in touch with you for a few years now. My first big interview when I started doing the spiritual hip-hop and esoteric research and all that stuff was with Vinny Eastwood on the Vinny Eastwood Show. And so that was a really good interview. And at the very early years of what I've built now, over the years, just being consistent, man. And you were there from the beginning. So huge thank you for that. That was some years ago. You're still doing it. You haven't skipped a beat. You've had some setbacks and things like that. I'd like to talk about some of it. But before we get started, just give my listeners, if people have no idea who you are, just kind of give them a background about who you are and what you bring to the table.
Okay. You may not realize this, but New Zealand isn't like squeaky clean and green and really lovely and that kind of thing. In fact, you might find yourself strangely familiar with its situation. We've got a population that's drinking too much alcohol, killing each other, hurting each other, driving around, getting in car accidents and things like that, being heavily obsessed with sport, aren't actually fulfilling any of their own potential, going to endless jobs that don't frickin' matter. All of their retirement savings and pay and rights and employment opportunities and things like that are all shrinking by the day. We've got fluoride in the water. We've got vaccines being pushed out by the government and subsidized. We've got chemtrails in the sky. We've got a corrupt government, a corrupt police force, a corrupt judiciary, a corrupt medical system. It's basically exactly like if you're an American, like home, isn't it? It's exactly the same situation. And you go, okay, because this was the realization I had. Because when I was getting woken up by American talk radio show hosts about all the corruption and the bad senators and the bribery and that kind of thing that was nesting through all periods of society using secret societies and other influential groups and universities and education and indoctrination to get people interested in it, then I started interviewing activists in New Zealand about these things that they would normally get about maybe a 12-second soundbite 30 seconds if they're lucky, but you interview them for hours and you start to realize that there's actually a little bit more to the issues that they were reported to have been talking about. And it paints this incredibly horrific and scary and dangerous picture of New Zealand. Like, think about that. The irony. New Zealand? Corrupt and dangerous and deadly? It just doesn't make any sense. And of course, it doesn't make any sense. But that doesn't mean it's not happening. It's happening because the world is run by crazy people. All right? That's why they call it a new world order. Well, people seem to be operating under this illusion that there'd be some country that would be exempt. There's some people who've left America to come to other countries and things like that and found that they're in the same situation, just with a different accent. And that's what New Zealand is, ladies and gentlemen. It is America with a different accent. All right? The world is becoming like this. And I feel that because I've gotten, 36,000 YouTube subscribers. The largest other YouTube news channel in New Zealand is the New Zealand Herald with about 20,000. So that's the New Zealand Herald TV. That's like the number one newspaper in the country. I've got more YouTube subscribers than they do. And they were previously the number one most subscribed news channel for YouTube in New Zealand. Now, what's happened is I got an American show on American Freedom Radio. Been doing that for about maybe 10 years or so. And early on in my career, we were getting on people like George Norrie of Coast to Coast AM, or John Perkins, who wrote The Economic Hitman, and very high caliber guests like this. And ever since then, it's been, pretty much a daily struggle, trying to just get the truth out. Don't become corrupt. Don't become bitter and cynical with everybody. Keep creating things. Keep putting it out there. And regardless of what encouragement the universe gives you, you keep doing it anyway. And that's basically the goal of life, I think, because that gives you purpose. And if you don't have any purpose, you don't really have a life. And people go, well, I can't define my purpose or whatever. And they go, well, your purpose is pretty easy to figure out. All right, I might be the first person in history to tell you that your purpose is actually quite easy to figure out. You just understand what you're thinking. All right? How do you want to affect the world? What do you want to do? And then have a look up there in your mind. That's the fifth dimension up there. 1 dimension's a dot. 2 dimensions is a line. 3 dimensions is a box. And four dimensions is that box moving through time. 5th dimension is that box without time, without space. That's where your thoughts come from. That's where your inspiration comes from. And your purpose is to turn those thoughts into reality by reversing the process. You get the idea in the 5th dimension, you spend 4th dimensional time working on that idea, and you manifest that idea into the 3-dimensional universe. That idea can then start influencing and affecting other people around you. And then it'll start giving them new ideas in 5th dimensional consciousness as well, and start them being able to create and co-create, rather, very interesting, unique solutions to the problems we have at hand, which are multiplicitous. And ergo, it's too many problems for one mind to figure out, for one solution. It's too big a problem for a mechanism as slow, cumbersome, and prone to organized crime management as government. They can't handle it. So every person must find within themselves those ideas, and they must will them into reality and spend their time on them. Otherwise, there won't be any time left for any of us. The situation's gotten that bad, apparently. Man,
very well put. A lot of people saying that in the chat. Vinny Eastwood, the alchemist. You understand it, man. You really do. You've been doing this for a long time. hats off to you. You're consistent. Like I said, you've had some things come against you, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, because I've had some similar obstacles, I guess, if you want to call it. But I'm just kind of picking some things out of what you said, and there's two points I just wanted to kind of pick your brain on a little bit. First of all, you said that New Zealand is like America with a different accent, right? And so I want to ask you this, because this is definitely the case here. When we hear people with your accent, or people from Australia, they have this accent, and then they speak in an intellectual way or talk about stuff that's deep or mystifying or religious, like they immediately have our attention, and for some reason they already have like this credibility that they know what they're talking about. Like, that's a thing here, right? Is that a thing with our accent to you guys? If someone else comes on the scene that's different, they sound different.
Oh, well, in New Zealand, when an American starts talking about ideas and everything, people automatically assume they're an idiot. So, yes, it's the exact same dynamic, but on the reverse.
I'm trying to say, because I'm wondering, do I need to move to New Zealand, man, and embrace my accent, man? And
well, it's an interesting divide and conquer thing. So, like, you've got there's real people, and then there's manufactured people, more or less. And the manufactured well outnumber the real. So real people will say, oh, you're American, stuff like that. They don't really care. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be from Britain, you could be from Brazil, but they'll still take an interest in you regardless, because you're new, you're interesting, and you're different. And that's the same thing that really we're talking about here, is that anything that's different, we're curious about. However, there's the flip side of that, which is the manufactured worldview, that anything different is dangerous. And you get xenophobia and things of that nature, and people looking down, speaking down to people, and that kind of thing. So, it's 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other.
Yeah, because if you, Vinny, whenever you put your suit on, and you just start talking, and you're talking about the spiritual alchemy and these type of things, like, you'll win a crowd in America like very easily. So it's kind of there. It's just that what something different is sexy. Like, it's just something different, odd, and we feel like they have the answers that we're all looking for because it's coming from a new perspective. You think that's a piece of it, and it's universal?
Well, the accent is sexy, bro. Like, seriously.
I can't argue with you. It's debatable, though, but I can't.
So FHM magazine, it's an Australian men's magazine, had a poll among women about what was the sexiest accent, and actually came up that the Irish accent was the sexiest. Mm. Right, and so as far as I'm concerned, there's levels of appeal to each and every accent, and in different ways. Like, for example, for comedy, I really like the South African accent. It's low, it's guttural, it's kind of very Dutch, and the Dutch have they've got a sense of humor, but can be quite cold. But it's not like that, because in South African humor is a little bit different, because most humor, or most powerful and successful humor, at least, is born out of people who have suffered massively. And if you're a white South African, oh my God. I remember my mate was telling me, I was in a pretty good suburb, babe. There's only 52 murders a week. That's just a suburb, 52 murders a week. And that was considered extremely safe, right? Another guy, he was talking about his wife having to get her hair coloured. And in New Zealand, he's like, yes, go, take it, mate. Take the money, just go. But in South Africa, he had to have maybe at least a 3-man detail and a bulletproof car and a couple of machine guns just to take his wife down to get her hair coloured. Yeah. Right? So when you're in a situation like that, you learn to deal with it, right? Human beings are remarkably tough. And they will, however, discover that they don't want to be in a situation, right? That's why a lot of them manage to leave. But while they're still there, the thing that keeps them alive, for a large part, is having a sense of humor about it. You know? Mm-hmm. Actually being able to laugh at how horrible and how terrible things are, to make fun of them. And it's just because we don't really have any other choice. It's the old adage called gallows humor, you know? And I think that a lot of the truth movement is missing out on this quite substantially. Like, I think even, you know, ironically, Joe Rogan being a comedian, the vast majority of the shows that I've listened to him on, very, very serious most of the time, right? Whereas I think that it's actually a better idea to just have fun, or at least I take people literally when they suggest me things, all right? Like, for instance, when I became a security guard, the first thing on the piece of paper was, your job is to make sure people are having a good time tonight, right? Surprisingly, as a security guard, that was the first thing they told me. And that was the most important thing to me. But it wasn't what they wanted me to do. So, and just like when I first got on American Freedom Radio, Danny said, your job is to have fun, right? Because if you're having fun, the audience is having fun. So I took it literally. Now, at the same time, I come across as very cavalier because I'm on a show, and I'm just like, I'm on a show and I'm going to have some fun. You know, I don't see a problem with that, but I can see why other people have a problem with it. And that's because they're dicks. Okay. Like, pretty much if you can't talk about serious stuff and have fun with it at the same time, I'm afraid you may have turned into a dick. All right. It's just that simple. You've got to have a sense of humor about life. Otherwise, you're going to become bitter. You're going to become conceited. You're going to be unaccepting of others. You're going to become dangerous to yourself and those around you. You're going to become nihilistic. You're going to become depressed. Because, again, judging people for their differences without having a look and seeing what the value actually is in somebody inherently. Like, let's say I had, 100 different values or whatever, and you like 97 of them, but you chose to switch off listening to my show where I interview a different person every week because you don't like 3 traits that I've got. Okay? That's basically what it's come down to. I've had people who have listened to over 1,000 of my broadcasts, they claim, and then listen to me interview one person and then switch off forever.
You had the flat earther on.
No, surprisingly, I didn't seem to lose anybody for the having the flat earther on.
Who was the flat earther you had?
Well, I think it was Santos Bonacci.
Santos, yeah.
Talking about the 5 false teachings or top 5 false teachings or something like that was the name of the video, or just search Santos Bonacci.
Yeah, I don't know if I lost followers or an audience because of him, but it attracted an audience, right? And people would watch it and automatically think that, like, my stance was his stance, just because I'm, like, asking him questions about flat earth and things like that. You know, they thought, well, Truth Seeker's a flat earth. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I made sure I'm not going there. You know what I'm saying? I'm letting Santos have it. But if I was to explore it, who better to have on your podcast than Santos Bonacci at this point, which is I would call him a friend. I think he's a mutual friend of ours. I've told you this before, but when he made that transition from, like, astrotheology and the inner holy science and stuff like that to flat Earth, he got, I think his audience maybe split down the middle. He lost a huge following and a lot of support because of that, because it's so it's a topic that's polarizing. He lost a lot of supporters, and I seen what happened to him, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going down that road. Forget flat earth. And I had people, like, want me to take a stance like it was a religious debate. What side are you on, Truth Seeker? I'm like, it doesn't even matter. Like, it's not even that serious for me. And people were doing that. But I seen what happened to him, and it put him in a weird place. You know what I'm saying? Someone that I guess we look up to him spiritually, and put him in a weird space. You see what it did to him being on. It'll do that to anybody who has a platform, and then you become the laughing stock or whatever the case is. And it put him in a weird spot. You had him on, not to exploit him in his weakness or exploit him in his time of need, but as a friend, like, hey, what's going on, man? How are you? You know, and that interview, man, I listened to that one versus trying to listen to anything about Flat Earth, because I can tell that you genuinely cared about him, right? And so that's beautiful, man. I want to commend you to that, for actually giving a damn and not exploiting. Tell us more about the Flat Earth, you know. This is a hot topic right now, and actually caring about the man. So hats off and kudos to you for that, man.
Well, it's not just him. In fact, that was one of my other principles that I found out, and I learned that during telesales. In order to successfully sell someone on something, you had to know that it was actually good for them. Like first and foremost, I know this is good for you, and that's the only reason I'm actually going to continue talking. Right? And what that means is that you have to care. Okay? You have to care about the person on the other end of that line more than you care about yourself at that particular moment. All right, that's where the birth of my interview technique actually came out. I remember one time I called up some guy trying to sell his landlines and internet, and I wound up having a conversation with him about his wife, who took his kids, took his business, took his home, took his car, and he's completely homeless, had no money, couldn't do anything. Right, and I had to put down that phone. Like, everybody was like calling and meeting, Vinny, get off the phone. And I was just like, oh my God. I had to hang up the phone. And I went into the bathroom and I just cried, man, because it was like, the thing is, when you care, it comes with a certain amount of baggage. Always. Doesn't matter who you're caring about. Yeah. Everybody's got baggage, and part of caring is sharing that load. Right? And that's what the show is really about. Not to just act like you care, but actually care.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think it's important. And that's probably the reason why a lot of the time when I've interviewed somebody who's a massive guest, who's been on thousands of interviews, participated in hundreds of documentaries, will say, this is the best interview I've ever had. And reason for that is it's not actually an interview. It's a conversation, right? An interview is when one person wants to know something, get to the bottom of something, and they've got questions that they ask. A conversation is somebody wants to know you, but they know that the person who knows you best is you. And often you don't really need to ask questions. You just need to listen.
Yep, that's the best thing, and I've tried to kind of take that approach as well as of recent with my shows and stuff. It's just been a lighthearted conversation, and I guess for an example, I kind of give this example. I've been on Project Camelot. We know Carrie Cassidy. I was on her show as a guest, and when I was on there, she was real defensive. You know, she has an agenda, a belief that she wants to push, and those things, right, about ufology and secret governments and things like that. But she's interviewing a lot of people, and she's doing a lot more interviews so that she's opening up to more people she doesn't know a lot about. She knew a little about me, had me on, but she was real defensive. I mean, her demeanor, and I wasn't trying to, like, I'm just, being myself and just trying to have a good time and find common ground with her on her show as a guest. And she was real defensive, man, and she would cut me off and abruptly, and but other people believe this, and you said you believe Jordan Maxwell, and Jordan Maxwell doesn't believe that, and just like checking me and stuff. And I'm like, look, I don't have nothing to prove. I'm just on here sharing this space with you, this type of deal. And it was awkward. We had a good conversation, but it was awkward, put it that way. I had her on my show, and I'm picking her brain, setting up good questions, letting her talk about what she loves. And the aura of the show, the whole essence of it was night and day. She was smiling, she would giggle, she would laugh, she was flattered, like all of this stuff. And it was a night and day interview, and I got so many messages and responses from her audience saying, hey, thank you. We haven't seen her smile in a long time. She's been going through some stuff and had attacks and threats and all this stuff, and she's been really burdened with this stuff. So thank you for doing this show with her and making her smile, making her laugh. And that's what it's about for me, you know. It's not about like battling belief systems or getting to the bottom of it, you know. And it was so beautiful, and I've taken that approach. Even though we talk to the Jordan Maxwells and the real esteemed, these are regular people, man, you know. You're muted, Vinny. I
got a bit of a one-upmanship thing, though. I made Mark Passio laugh.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's ever seen Mark Passio laugh. Like, nobody.
Very similar approach, so that we talk to these people who are just poised and this is important. This is the truth, and we got to get to the bottom of it. And then we can talk about it and laugh about it. I think we have to. Some people get mad. They get offended when we laugh about some of the stuff that we believe in or once believed in. I think it's good to laugh about it because, like you said, we take ourselves too seriously, and it'll drive us crazy. We have to laugh about this stuff, man. This stuff will drive you mad if you take it as absolute truth and this is the only way and these people are right and they're wrong and stuff like that. It'll drive you crazy. So I found immense peace in just being able to laugh at the quirkiness of it all, you know, because it really is, you know.
It's an understanding a fractal system of infinite complexity. So something that is impossible for you to actually understand everything that's working here in your lifetime. It's simply not possible. Like, for example, cram everything that's in Google in your brain. Not enough storage space. You know, you're screwed. And that's, I think, what people have tried to do is develop a shorthand for life. Okay, so they go, okay, this means that means this, and so on and so forth. They don't elaborate on the so on and the so forth. They are content with saying this means this and that means that, right? And they try to put things into very easily definable categories.
Just black and white, that's it.
Apparently, this phenomenon has become even more pronounced in human behavior since the advent of social media. We are now what many would consider over-categorizing things. Okay? I like to do the opposite of that usually. I like to, shall we say, look into things a little bit deeper than what I've heard or even what I've seen. Because maybe the person I'm talking to knows something I don't. Maybe I don't know everything. And maybe it's arrogant to even act or assume anything different, right? When you're totally open and you're absolutely capable of receiving things, that's when you grow. When you're totally closed, you learn nothing. Imagine a conversation where two people are yelling at each other, where both of them walk away from that conversation, man, I learned a lot. You know, oh, you know, he was so attentive to the points I was trying to make. It just doesn't happen that way. So I found a lot of the time we are suffering complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So you may understand what this feels like, ladies and gentlemen, if you've become a truther in some way, shape, or form. Here's what causes it. Number one, you realize that your life is no longer absolutely in your hands anymore, that there's actually real threat against it, palpable threat, that there is absolute proof exists, real threat over your life. You can't really control it. And it's been completely different up until that point. You thought you're in control, you're no longer in control. That period of not having control over what happens in your life has to continue for between 1 month and 6 months. If it does, your brain will react to that endless aura of threat by rewiring itself to proactively react to threats and proactively avoid them. So if a threat comes into your midst that's unforeseen, you get an instant rush of massive adrenaline. You get real angry, real freaking fast. You can do crazy stuff, okay? Your brain's been wired that way to protect you because the previous threat that you've survived, the memory of that threat will never go away. Never. And on the opposite side, you will often try to avoid situations that cause you to feel this way. I feel this way when I am employed by somebody who can tell me what to do with my time. I get that way when I am talking to a police officer who isn't going to just let me go. I get that way when people are on the phone to me and they're angry at me for something.
Yeah.
Something that I haven't done.
Yep.
So I avoid all of those situations in my life perpetually. I have to. So let me ask you, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't go near authority figures, employers, or anything like that, or deal with angry people, what job could you possibly do? All right, think about it. It's a very, very short to virtually non-existent list of things. You're not going to be able to avoid those things perpetually. But I found the way to keep the least amount of aggro in my life is I get to pick and choose the people that I'm talking to, and either I'm invited on their show or they're invited on my show. So we automatically owe each other something, so there's going to be no beef. That way, I get to do something that I've really longed to do since I was a very small boy. Have decent role models, all right? Do you have any idea how horrible my family life was, okay? Only a horrible family life could turn somebody into something as positive as me. All right, because you'd have nothing to compare it to. Everybody's talking about their woes and their sadness and their tragedy and these kind of things. Not to say that these aren't significant, not to say that these aren't important, but they were absolutely necessary for you to become the person that you are today. Yeah. Absolutely necessary. If they weren't necessary, they wouldn't have happened. And I mean, you can only look at that in the retrospective, though. You can't say in the future, ha, 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 anything bad to you couldn't have happened in any other way, because the bad things that happen to you teach you those lessons, okay? I found the most important and valuable lessons in my life have been those that have cost me the most.
Yep, 100% true, man. I'm with you on that. Some people thrive in that, though. Like, they enjoy making people feel that way. You know, they enjoy pushing people into a corner and being accusing, a predator, accusing people. I'm the same way. I don't like it. You feel like you have it all together until that happens, and you feel that loss of breath. You're like, oh Lord, I don't want to do this. You know, it reminds you of something that, you know, of the past. And we talked about it a lot on your show, the fact that I come from the religious background where I was one who did that. I love to debunk people, and I did exposed videos and all that kind of stuff, you know, and prove people how they're wrong according to my point of view, which I thought was like a biblical point of view, honestly, put it that way. And so I try not to do that now, and for good reason. And I have people who are doing that to me now, and I have people who are mad at me now because I don't do that. And I'll have Jordan Maxwell on the show, and we'll discuss.
What, are they angry because you grew up and they didn't?
At the end of the day, yeah. At the end of the day, they still stuck in fight or flight, and if I'm wrong, maybe eternally punished. You know, that those type of belief systems. Well,
there's the old saying, what do you get when you look for a fight? A fight. I mean, that's what happens. So, like, don't start none, won't be none. Everybody's going into these YouTube comments sections specifically. I get on at least a couple a day of abusive, ignorant, arrogant comments to people who either didn't watch the video or just didn't listen to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, and a lot of anger in them, you know, and that's okay. You know, anger's good. It's better than just being sad about something and being demotivated about something. Anger gives you a little bit of energy, a little bit of oomph. You know, you can go out and you can do something when you're angry. You can protest. You can write an angry rap song or something like that, bro. Whatever keeps your Luftwaffe aloft. But the point of it is, if you are bringing aggression towards people who have not aggressed you, okay, for example, you look at anything that I've ever done, pretty much, and where am I bringing aggression into it, right? And the answer is I'm not. So the reason why people become aggressive towards me just baffles me. It's like, what have I done to do offend you, sir?
I'm the same way, Vinny. I'm the same way, making them lash out, doing something because I mean, I know we talked about this on our on your show, but I guess it's worth repeating. Like, is it a jealousy thing? Are they jealous? I think a lot of people are jealous that there's people listening, and they're upset that their narrative is different from yours, and they feel like you're misleading people. Not just you, but me as well, because I get the same backlash. You know, I don't go out looking for a fight. I look to find peace with everybody, even people I don't agree with, people would consider my enemy. I'm still trying to find common ground and build with them upon the things that we believe in on a public platform. And that makes those other people mad who seemingly believe what you believe, but they're like, they want that microphone. Like, they're like, Vinny, you need to give it to him, man. He's wrong, you know, and they're mad at you for not lashing out. It's this weird jealousy thing. They're jealous of a platform and things. I've had really close friends, man, over the years, and man, that jealousy comes in, and they feel like they're more qualified to have, you know, they feel like they should be doing what you're doing all along. They wanted to do what you're doing, which at the end of the day, I think is simply doing what you love to do. I think it don't matter what, I don't care if you're a football player. Oh, I was good back in high school, whatever the case is. Like, they feel like they should be doing, and they're more qualified, and they're jealous that you're doing what you were destined and put here to do. I talk about a jealousy. I would watch Joe Rogan, maybe even you, or just anybody who was doing what they are like put here to do, and they're flowing, and they're making a living doing it, and they're having fun, and it comes with ease and grace, and they don't have to will nothing to happen. They're in this sweet spot where it works. And I would get jealous, not as like an envious jealous, but a jealousy like, hey, I want to do that too. And if I play my cards right and I'm consistent and I show up, I can do it. And that's for the haters. That's for the people who want your platform and want to step in and cut you off and, as a matter of fact, you and things like that. They could be doing the same thing as well. If they would funnel that negative energy into something positive, to understand what they're put here to do or what they're good at doing and be consistent, it's going to grow, man. People are asking here in the comment section, and I wanted to talk to you as well. Talk a little bit about your growth in the early days of being consistent, right? If you didn't show up, and if you didn't just keep showing up, there wouldn't be no growth in what you're trying to plant. Talk about the early days and just getting started. And actually, when did you get started? I know you've been around a while. When was your first official show?
I think it was like in 2009. I became the co-host of the Global Freedom Report on American Freedom Radio, and then they fired the host and gave me the show. So I think that was in 2009, mid 2009. So I was getting up. I think my show was 3 a.m. till 5 a.m. local time, 5 days a week. So it was Tuesday through Saturday, 5 days a week.
So you had to learn quick too. It wasn't just one a week. You had to learn quick.
Well, I had natural talent going into it, because at that point I'd been doing my YouTube for about a year and a half, and that's how I got noticed by a producer at American Freedom Radio who became my producer. And it turned out that I was a big Alex Jones fan and whatnot. And it turned out that the guy who was running the network was actually one of Alex Jones's former producers. And so I was like, oh my God, you're getting in good company. But then they started telling me who he really is, what he really does to people.
Alex Jones?
What he did to them, yeah.
Yeah.
And I came up with a saying around that time, is that when you put someone on a pedestal, once they come tumbling down off that pedestal, you, the stupid bastard who put them up there, is going to be the one who's crushed. Right?
True.
And that's the thing, is to realize that we're all human, and there's probably a dark side to everybody. You know, there's dark sides to me. There's things that I do that if everybody knew, and that kind of thing. You know, they'd turn off my show, or they'd stop donating, or something like that for whatever reason. And for a large part, I feel myself not feeling sorry for myself, but sorry for myself. Like, I'm sorry for what I do. I'm sorry for what I am. I'm sorry for all these times that I've tried and failed. I'm sorry. I'm just really, really sorry all the time. And I have this immense obligation on my shoulders. Like, I don't have children. I've been trying for like 10 years or something like that. And I started to realize that I needed some kind of parental responsibility. I needed something that I couldn't just wiggle out of. And I realized what was happening to me is that I was becoming sort of like a loving parent to a lot of people in the truth movement. Like, I'd see somebody who's in a really bad jam or something like that, and I'd get them on the show and make them feel better. Or, you know, and I'd done that quite a bit throughout my career. The only reason I've got you on the show is because I heard you having a hard time and brought you on to cheer you up, that kind of thing. And I was driving to a mate's place one time, and radio didn't work in the car, so I have to think while I drive. And thought to myself, what do I want to accomplish after I die? No, not what I want to accomplish before I die, but after I die. And I thought to myself, you know, what if somebody who saved a lot of human lives, like 1 million plus human lives, through their activism and their general workings and causes and things of that nature, when I die, they come to my funeral, and they come up and they say something, and they say, there was this time when I was feeling really, really down on myself. I was feeling really, really miserable. And I didn't feel like continuing trying to do the right thing in the world. But there was this guy, Vinny Eastwood. And he brought me on my show, and he taught me about the lighter side of genocide. He taught me to have a few laughs and not to take myself so seriously. And it allowed me to get back to work.
Yeah.
And I saved 1 million people with him. And a day later, a guy who's written 5 books on depopulation, who's currently who did like a hunger strike and things like that outside the Vatican against the covert depopulation agenda, put a post on his Facebook that said almost word for word what I said, right? And I was like, oh my God, damn, I've already accomplished what I want to accomplish after my death in life.
Yeah.
I cheated myself out of my destiny.
Yeah.
You know, it's a funny old world, because how that worked is, I was feeling sorry for myself and was feeling like I didn't want to really continue. And then when that person said that, it stopped that situation, right? Which is exactly, interestingly, what I needed to happen and what I was loving about the whole situation. Because I think hope, you know, whatever empty platitude that politicians are pandering these days doesn't mean what they say it means. Hope means a little bit of something different.
Yeah.
Hope means, to me, very little. It means not impossible. Okay? Smidgen chance. You know? It's not optimism. It's not anything like that. Hope is the Basically, it's ignoring the vast majority of reality and holding on for a better tomorrow. Doesn't work very well if you don't work every day towards that better tomorrow and feed that hope, innit?
Yep.
Because otherwise, you'll just go like, what have I accomplished? Nothing. Oh, okay. Feel pretty depressed and feel like I haven't accomplished something with my life. Hey, look, there's a person over there that I know that's accomplished something with their life. I'm going to get angry with them. I'm going to send them an abusive message or something like that. And that was a realization I was coming to this morning about why a lot of people seem aggressive with me. I mean, theoretically, it's because I at least appear to have a purpose. I at least appear to have an attentive audience.
That's good, man.
They, on the other hand, do not even have an appearance of that. And so they're angry with me.
Yeah.
Because every time they see me, they see a reflection of what they're not.
Yeah.
And it makes them really angry with themselves.
Yeah.
And because they're so freaking irresponsible, they choose not to be angry with themselves and motivate themselves into doing something about it.
You preach it, man.
Angry with me. It's you're to blame. You.
Yeah.
You've been working really hard at what you want to do with your life. Well, what about my life? What about my life? It's your life. That's why they call it your life. You're supposed to actually suss it out, bro. Like, go on. What did you do yesterday? You spent 8 hours watching television and 4 hours playing video games and about 8 hours sleeping, huh? There was 8 hours of work in there somewhere? Yeah, but you only really worked real hard for about 15 minutes during that 8 hours of work, huh?
Yep.
Okay. What do you think you're going to accomplish in the broad scheme of things with that kind of regiment? You're not going to accomplish a hell of a lot, are you? Well, it looks like you're going to have to start busting your ass. And if you want to start busting your ass, you're going to have to realize that your ass has a physical vessel, and if you don't frickin' take care of it, you're not going to have enough energy to do the things you want to do in life, bro. You're not going to have enough. You're going to feel like crap. You're going to be underperforming. And that's going to make you bitter and angry at all the people who are performing to their abilities. Okay? Don't do that to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you become a detriment, not only to yourself, but to everybody around you. And they, filled with your negative energy, will go and spread that out elsewards. So if you're not spreading positive energy, you're not making the world a better place. In fact, if you're spreading negative energy, you're making it worse. Stop making it worse. Just stop making it worse.
Help us out, man. That's the thing. That's the thing too, Vinny, because like that's 100%. But the whole thing about it is like you're telling them how to do it. You're not hiding anything. You don't have like the secret formula and it's only for me and I got to kill the competition or nothing. You're like, hey, this is hard work pays off no matter what you're doing. And all you have to do is do something, whatever you feel like you're called or passionate to do. You're giving, quote unquote, giving them the game. You're letting them know what will work and what doesn't and what's worked for you.
That.
Yeah.
Hard work doesn't just always pay off. It only pays off if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's usually not working for somebody else. You might find out that out the hard way after your 19th job or something. Maybe working for other people was actually the problem and it wasn't me.
Yeah, well, you got to be careful too, man, because I talk about how like the mind is so powerful and we can accomplish whatever we put our mind to. And a lot of people will start working hard, building things out of false motives or hidden agendas, like because they didn't get picked. It's like, oh, I'll show you. I've done that. Trust me. Like I've put money, time, and I've been building things that I wasn't supposed to be doing, and they've become successful. And that's scary when you're like knee deep in something. You're like, man, this is taking off, and I didn't mean it to. Like you check your motives and be like, man, whether it's I'm chasing a pipe dream that's becoming successful or doing something. A lot of people do it from getting offended or getting overlooked or not getting picked, or like I said, getting offended is a big one. It always points back to kind of like what you were talking about, the Alex Jones figures, when you put somebody on a pedestal and then they fall and the pedestal comes falling to crush the people who are under it. You know, for me, coming from like a religious background, that always happens in the churches, man. people will put the pastor on the pedestal or their leadership. And when the pastor falls into sexual immorality or stealing money from the church or quits believing in God, then the people who are following the pastor, not following God or this faith in a God, but really at the end of the day, you're following this person's belief in God. Really, you don't have your own, and they fall with them. The pastor quits believing in God, they quit believing in God. The pastor, falls, and then they're all devastated. They quit going to church or they quit believing, and that belief was never there to begin with. They were following another man's opinion of God or their role or whatever the case is. And
the truth movement is like that. There's a lot of people who ain't in the truth movement anymore who used to be, because somebody in the truth movement lied to them or screwed them over or stole something from them. There are a lot of psychopaths in this movement, bro. People with absolutely no scruples. They will make up anything.
Yeah.
They will do anything. They are very, very, very dangerous. And people have got to be aware of that, right? You're going into a church, it shouldn't be praise God that you should be going in there with. It's, is this person that is going to be helping me with my spirituality a pedophile, criminal, scumbaggery, a psychopathic cult leader or not? All right, it's the only proxy.
And they're probably one of them.
To split it into black and white, right?
Yeah.
There's some simple categorization.
Yeah, they're probably at least one.
Yeah, and the same goes for pretty much everything in life. And just remember that these people who don't have scruples are also very good at hiding the fact that they don't. And often tell everybody how good they are and how great their morals are and what a great role model they are, this kind of thing, where if you knew the truth, every word that got uttered from their mouth would give you bile in the back of your throat, ladies and gentlemen. Vomitus!
I mean, let's just look at this. I mean, even, I guess today's the best day. Try to go back and watch The Cosby Show. Go back and watch The Cosby Show with Theo and who I forget all the characters, but Bill Cosby. Go back. We're not gonna be able to watch that show anymore. He just got convicted on 3 accounts of rape today. He just got convicted. We can't go back and watch that stuff and the Jell-O pudding pop and interacting with the kids and women. You're not gonna be able to watch it the same. And it's the same way. The rug was pulled out from under you. The little old man came from behind the curtain from the Wizard of Oz. It was really this little old man who was, projecting this majestic fake persona, essentially, like the American dad, the good, clean-cut, American who was a doctor, and really deep down, this dude was dark, man. We can't watch it the same.
Kids say the darndest things.
Yeah.
I mean, think about watching that, knowing that he's a rapist or a pedophile or something like that. Right, and then there's Jimmy Savile, who's like seminal in a lot of British entertainment as well. Massive pedophile. Rolf Harris, same deal. Massive pedophile. And you go after these people and you think to yourself, well, I guess I still like The Cosby Show, right? like at the time it was good, but I'm now looking at it through a different lens, but it's still the same show. Okay, now, here's the important thing about that. It isn't that The Cosby Show is now something that you can't watch because of how your lens has tainted it or who made it or something like that. It was still very good entertainment for its time. What it should teach you, though, is that some of the biggest entertainers in the world are the worst monsters that stride upon the earth. Okay? And understand that every time that you're watching something, even currently, you are in some way supporting whatever monsters are working or heading that project. And I think that's something else that we've got to really start maybe taking responsibility for, like the Harvey Weinstein type thing and the sexual abuse things there, Kevin Spacey with all of these kind of things. Now, these people are just pieces of meat that are being chucked out to the media. They mean nothing. Mm-hmm. And they've done very little by comparison to what some others have about industrial scale child trafficking and things of that nature. But here's the point. All of the entertainment industry, more or less, has been infiltrated by the intelligence agencies many, many years ago. Did you know that the CIA has more hours of finished film stock than the entirety of Hollywood's entire history combined? All right? They make a lot of stuff in their CIA film studios, a lot of stuff that the news tells you is real. Okay? They're totally manufacturing reality, and only a monster would really want to manufacture people's reality for them. A good person would want you to figure out what reality is for yourself, so that way you actually understand it. And the concept of understanding is that you stand underneath it. Okay? This is reality. It's up above my head. I can't frickin' change it. Okay? I can't take off from the ground without some kind of propelling device. I need to be in a plane or something like that. So if I take acid, I'm not going to jump off a building to test if I can fly. I'm going to try and take off from the ground first, you know. These kind of things are very, very basic logic. Hey, there's this thing called reality. Don't mess with it. I mean, natural laws, they're there and they exist, and they don't really bend for nobody. There is on occasion, you know, people who've like done amazing things and what have you, but that's not something to just rely on. Just take it from me. Don't put forks in an electrical socket. Take it from me. Don't put your hand on the hot oven element. Take it from me. Don't pour boiling water from the jug onto yourself. You know, these are basic rules that we all know are actually going to result in some really bad stuff. Here's a scary thing. One of the basic rules of watching television or movies is that they supplant subliminal messages into your mind to prevent you from waking up to reality. And every single dollar that you give that industry, they not only brainwash you, but they continue to profit from you brainwashing yourself.
Yep.
Isn't that brilliant? That's our Hollywood culture. And when I say our Hollywood culture, it's global.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Marvel movies are big in New Zealand, as big as they are in Europe and what have you. Just because America has 400 million people who speak one language and happen to really like big blockbuster entertainment made by talented artists, right? But how many of those artists aren't actually artists? How many of those people are actually just psychopaths who steal real artists' ideas? How many people have you seen in the credits have actually done way more work than they were credited for and haven't worked again because they didn't like the people stealing their ideas, taking over their movie, or destroying what they tried to do with it, right? Real artists are being taken out of the game. Yeah. And you think about this just across the arts in general. How many people does that happen to in the music industry? How many good artists come out with really deep, meaningful, powerful messages who suddenly find themselves without a gig? I mean, could it be happening? Are we being controlled by psychopaths at the same time as pedophiles and these sexual predators and things like that behaving in such a horrific way to all the vulnerable people within the industry? It's a giant cult, essentially, full of fake people who have put something on a pedestal that is not their own divinity, all right? And when I say your own divinity, I mean that with humbleness, all right? You're a little fraction of divinity because you got created and you're here and you're capable of creating something. That's the fraction of your divinity. What you do with that and what you do to others is the practice of becoming divine, hopefully, you know? That, and I say the word hopefully, operatively, because you won't ever become a god. All right? Like, it reminds me of a joke, actually. What's the difference between a medical oncologist and a god?
What is it?
A god realizes they're not a medical oncologist.
That's what they're doing. And there was a time that I was like I was studying all the dark stuff, you know. I mean, I think we've all been there. If you've definitely been into Alex Jones, you've got into the Illuminati and they're watching me and the symbolism and all of this kind of stuff, right? And then it come to a conclusion at that point, and I think this probably still is the conclusion, that these people are playing God. Like, all of them. They can shift your consciousness, what you think. They're trying to defy death. They don't want to die. This is their kingdom. In a biblical sense, they don't want to give up their kingdom. So they're fighting against, like, the stuff that is good, the stuff that is righteous. They're at war with righteousness, essentially. Anything that looks like God, looks like something that is beautiful. They're trying to become, like, they're trying to control everything. They're becoming God with this stuff. And this is essentially what, I mean, for me, it's like, once I knew they were doing that and there was nothing that you could shock me with, like, hey, did you find out that Michelle,
Obama is a man?
Obama's a man. Oh, I didn't look into it, but it doesn't surprise me. Did you find out that China has plastic rice? And it's not really rice; it's plastic. They're feeding the people plastic with flavoring on it. Did you know about that? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You sell us McDonald's. There's nothing like, I don't like look up this stuff anymore. There's a place, I think, where a lot of us kind of went through that phase in the whole waking up thing. We're like, oh, let's get to the bottom of this. Let's put an end to this rice, plastic rice. Let's put an end to it. But it's like these people, man, who are running everything.
We need to rise up.
Yeah. With that, man. Goodness. It is terrible, Allie. It is terrible, but there's no end. There's no end to this wickedness. And the scriptures is cool because the scripture says that they keep plotting on, like, new ways. They keep trying to invent new ways to do wickedness. Look at where we're headed, man. They're just telling little kids that, you can pick your gender, you can pick what you can be, whatever you want to be. Like, we tell them that, but it's like, when I was a kid, man, when we wanted to rebel against our parents, we put on black lipstick and became gothic, and grew our hair out and painted our fingernails, become gothic. When these kids rebel against their parents, they abandon their genders. You know what? You raised me as a boy, I'm really a girl. What? Like, it's getting insane. Like, this stuff, there's no end to it. It's gonna keep evolving. When you see that dude, he's like 60-year-old dude, 50-year-old dude. He's now parading around as a 8-year-old girl and living his life as an 8-year-old girl, living with a happy family that adopted him. Like, they're continually thinking of things that are wicked and evil, and it's not gonna stop. All of this stuff is gonna come out, and it's not gonna stop. But those who are, we shouldn't give up. We should continue standing for truth. Continue standing for what is right.
Can I make a point on that?
Go ahead.
When you stand for truth, everybody who sees you stand for truth gets emboldened just a little to say the truth themselves.
I think so.
Ergo, if you've got the balls to say the truth, it's your responsibility to say the truth. Otherwise, the inspiration that you could have given everybody else would otherwise not exist. All right? This is a responsibility. It's a moral obligation, essentially. My wife's Christian parents had to come stay with us for a couple of months. And, I wasn't overly keen on the idea of my parents-in-law coming to stay in my house for a couple of months. So, one night they asked me, so why did you let us stay here, Vinny? And I go, moral obligation. I don't have a choice to obey my moral principles, otherwise I am not a man.
Yeah.
All right? I mean, people think that being free is about having choices. No, it's not. Being free is about determining what your obligations are and choosing whether or not to fulfill them.
Yeah. I don't know if this is applicable or not, but for those watching on camera, I was late night streaming with some friends. We were gaming and we were just having a hangout on Zoom, a couple friends live streaming, and it's about 1:30 in the morning, and someone knocks on my window 1:30 in the morning, pop, 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 and I jump, run to the back, get the gun. Hey, somebody's knocking on my window at 1:30 in the morning. So who is this? I go wake my wife and daughter up. Hey, somebody's out there. So I go outside and check on who it is, and it's a friend of mine. Who lives about an hour away, strung out on drugs. Wife kicked him out. He has nowhere to go. He's been doing binging on drugs, and he's out of his mind. You know, he's like, I need somewhere to stay. And moral obligation, I let him sleep on the floor. 1:30. Look, man, go in the room, man. Blah, 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 blah. Put my wife and daughter back to sleep. Look, it's my friend. He's out of it right now, you know. He comes in here and he sits down at this desk and starts cursing out my friends who I was live streaming with, chatting with. He starts cursing them out. Hey, man, blah, blah, blah. And he hangs up on them. And I come back in here and he's like, they told me later what happened. I was like, this is insane. So anyway, it's a moral obligation for that one time. Like, you don't get to come back and do it again. You don't get to take advantage of the situation. I can get strung out and go stay with truth. No, you can't. Like, that happened one time. There's a moral obligation there for me to be there when you need me, but you can't take advantage. Like, oh, I have somewhere to go if I get messed up. I go stay with. No, you can't. You can't do it. And you know, it's just, I don't want to give too much information. This person's probably listening. He's a huge fan of Vinny Eastwood, so I don't mean any offense. Didn't say your name. I love you, but it's part of it, man. There is a moral obligation there with friends, at least, man. And like you're saying, because friends or family, my friends are my family. You know what I'm saying? And we were talking about like the persecution and stuff, and the people who are jealous and envy. Like, you're gonna get those YouTube comments until you roll over and you're dead. You're done. They're gonna keep coming. But when it comes from those closest to you, is when it hurts the most, right? Those who are friends and the ones you will lay your life down for, or you will, you know, make your family uncomfortable so that they can sleep in the room or whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying? You'll do that for those people. And when those people lash out at you, it becomes a problem. Yeah.
Well, I think people forget how much we mean to each other and how much it hurts when we betray each other. And the old saying goes that your enemies can't betray you. Only your friends can. You know? Yeah. And that's something you've got to really, you got to take to heart sometimes, is that sometimes, your friends ain't friends anymore, man. You know? So maybe and sometimes you realize that they actually never were.
Yeah. They're fair weather friends, you know? They come around when times are good, you know? The scripture says a true friend sticks closer than a brother. You know what I'm saying? That's somebody that's gonna go with, you know, they're gonna have long suffering and walk with you when times get tough, when times are hard. It's funny how, like, I don't know if it's not a religious thing. Maybe it's a spiritual thing that we feel a connection with people, but like I'm genuinely led to do that with people I connect with. Like, there's a genuine bond that surfaces.
There's a hardwired tribal instinct within us to find like-minded individuals and to build structure, all right, around those relationships. Now, structure goes with trust, more or less, and the only way you can actually establish trust with somebody is ironically just to trust them straight up and have them return that trust with faith, all right? And that's the difference between, you know, having faith in something and having trust in something, is faith gets rewarded. If you just trust somebody and they just keep taking $20, keep taking $20, keep taking $20, that's not faith. That's just blind trust. That's not a good idea. Unless, of course, you need to put your money into one after you skip Ireland. In fact, I'll just tell you the backstory on that joke there, because I doubt anybody got it. Our former Prime Minister, educated at Harvard, right, worked on Wall Street, was responsible for selling derivatives. One of the first people who brought it in. He was in Ireland one time, and he was helping his clients to avoid tax. And then he left Ireland just as their economy collapsed and put all his money into blind trusts so that the Irish government couldn't grab it back off of him, which he stole. And then he comes to New Zealand and he becomes the Prime Minister. It gets us from $8 billion in debt to over $100 billion in debt in 9 years. Unfreaking believable. Borrowed more than 10 times what all previous prime ministers combined. And guess what? He's officially, John Key, in history, New Zealand's most popular prime minister. In fact, he's not known as John Key anymore. He's now known as Sir John Key. All right? This is how corrupt my country is. Just a few factoids about one particular former Prime Minister, who incidentally happened to be a Freemason. And who's the new Prime Minister? Well, she got a Freemason scholarship in order to go to university back in the day. Oh, and who's her father? Well, he was the former head of the police. Oh, okay. Well, I can guarantee these people will really, really want to look into police and judicial corruption, I'm sure.
Yeah. Me and my wife were just talking, I think it was last night, about where we wanted to go, if we can go anywhere. And, you know, my mind immediately went to, you know, where they filmed The Lord of the Rings. New Zealand. They shot a bunch of that in New Zealand. I was like, I want to go there, man. It's just beautiful. I want to go to those rolling hills and see all of this beautiful stuff. But then you're like,
okay, 3 words: the South Island. All you need to know about New Zealand. Go to the South Island, and it's picturesque Lord of the Rings shit everywhere you look. You drive 10 kilometers down the road. Wow, that's amazing. You drive another 5. Oh my God! You know, you drive another 20. Oh, God, it's so beautiful. It's ridiculous, right? And the reason why it's so beautiful is because man didn't build it.
It's untouched. It's untapped. What's the closest community to a place like that, though? Like, what's the
Queenstown, man.
And how far is that?
Well, it depends. If you fly in from Auckland, maybe about an hour's flight. But if you're driving from, say, the next biggest city closest to Queenstown, probably be Dunedin or Christchurch, that's maybe like I think from Christchurch it was maybe like a 6.5 hour drive.
Wow. And it's untouched. Nothing close. 6 hours away. Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's even further than that. I mean, it's just, as I said, it's everywhere you look, because you're talking about a landmass the size of Great Britain that has maybe a little under 1 million people living on it. All right? That's nobody. All right? That's just empty space, the vast majority of it. Sure, people own it and stuff like that, and there's national parks and what have you, but largely it's undeveloped. And I think maybe now near the Queenstown area, where they've got a whole bunch of new intelligence bosses and the Palantir program and Kim.com and a whole bunch of big cyber head honchos and things like that are now heading down there. And setting up shops, setting up servers and all of this kind of thing. So yeah, it's just an attractive thing, and the reason why they called it Queenstown is because it's got a view fit for a queen. I mean, you're just in this town and you're like, oh, holy, you know, you could just leave a GoPro running.
That's how I want to go see that, man.
People are just mouth agape.
Are there hobbits?
If you search Vinny Eastwood Queenstown, I got a link.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did a video about that. Or rather, a video of just a clip from us talking on the show with some of the Queenstown background stuff that I shot. Oh my God, it was nice.
Awesome.
But what's problematic is that, again, if you look a little bit closer, you go, what is in that water that looks so nice and clean and pristine? It's got compound 1080. What's that? Well, the Japanese used it to poison the Chinese water supplies. Really? Yeah. Not good, eh? What else is in there? Well, a lot of phosphorus. Where does that come from? From the 1 million or so cows that shit into the river because there's no regulations keeping the cows from doing that in the river? Really? Yeah. No fences, no nothing. It's just, come on, cows. Just poo in our waterways. Go for your life, son. And it's just... it goes on from there because...
You're killing it for us, Vinny. We're trying to come out there, man. You're killing the dream.
Well, it goes back to my original point, is that there is no such country that is exempt from a new world order.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So wherever you go, again, like I said, you can't argue with reality. Okay? Or as Ayn Rand said, you can ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality, because otherwise she comes up and she bites you in the ass, you know, quite harshly. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand that. I don't understand why people come to New Zealand thinking that it's any different other than through the lens of advertising and marketing. Right? It's the only way you can get people to believe a lie or a half-truth.
Yeah.
You know, sure, we've got beautiful places down here, but there's a lot of stuff beneath that beauty that's actually very, very ugly.
Yep.
Like the police working with judges and child services and things like that to kidnap children and to hire them out to gangs and things like that. That's not a nice thing to know that your local police do when you're in a small South Island town just outside of Queenstown. You know, that's not something you want to. That's not something you want to know, and that's what the truth is. The truth is never something people want to know. They say they do, but trust me, you don't want to know.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, you should know, and you have to know, but don't kid yourself and say that you want to.
Yeah, no, we think we do it. We always get to a point that's like, okay, I learned too much. I want to go back. And you build with people who have these triggers. Like especially with me dealing with religion, man. I've been in situations where like people will be over at my house or something, and we'll be talking about the Illuminati, and they're getting deep, and I know about that, and I drop a nugget that's a little bit too deep for them, and they're like, oh. Hey, man, let's pray for Truth Seeker, man. That man, you know what I'm saying? Like, I always take it too far. They, like, find common ground. They're like, oh, yeah, I know about this. I know about that. I know about aliens. I know about that. And I say, okay, you know about this? And they're like, oh, man. Because it messes with their paradigm. It's like the cognitive dissonance. Like, you can be shown something that's that goes against your core belief on a subject, and you won't believe it if your belief is proven to be a lie. Because you're holding to it so tightly, and you know it changes the way you view reality and people. You know, this whole thing about Alex Jones and falling and pastors falling and stuff and pedophiles in the church and Bill Cosby. In religion, there's been some pastors over the years, big name pastors, who fell into going out and like getting into homosexual relationships with younger guys and getting caught of doing drugs and whatever, and the congregation, they find out about this stuff and they still follow them. You think that everybody pulls support and they're done, but a lot of these people are so connected, especially when their eternal salvation comes into play. Like this guy represents where they're going when they die, and this guy's been their shepherd or whatever, and he falls, and they almost get into the cognitive dissonance like it never happened, and they say, well, we're gonna follow him anyway, we believe in him, and he's been done some detestable, vile things that he's admitted to and stuff, and that gets really weird, you know, that people will still follow them, and people will you know, drink the Kool-Aid essentially, right? Be at this commune. Hey, I think they're coming for us. We might as well kill ourselves so we can all go to heaven. Hold on, wait, hold on. No, let's do it. All these people are rallying with the cult leader, like, y'all finna kill yourself. A lot of people in that whole Jim Jones thing, people ran through the woods running for their life. But the majority, they're grabbing people, making the kids do it. And all of these people, it's, I used the term today with a friend. You have a bunch of crash dummies. They crash test dummies. You remember the cartoon and little toys? The little guys that get in the car and they drive head first into a light pole or a wall and they wreck the car. They're a bunch of crash dummies. We're dealing with a bunch of crash dummies out here, man. You know what I'm saying? And you got to be careful who you let in your circle, who you're getting wisdom from, who you're letting speak into your life from a religious, political, spiritual aspect, whatever. Even on just friendship wise. Look at people's fruit. That's what I tell people. Look at how these people live their life. Look at their relationships. Look at how they treat people. Look how they treat the homeless, the needy, their friends who are going through a hard time. Look at their fruit. And like we talked about on your show, like there's a standard you have to have before you can actually speak into my life. Like I want to make sure you know what the hell you're talking about before you're trying to give me wisdom or correction. I got to make sure it's working for you. Don't give me why are you giving me the same wisdom and advice that's not working for you? Don't do it. I have a standard when it comes to that. And I beckon everyone should have some type of standard as well.
what gives you the right to give other people advice? And it's like, have you got something locked down a hell of a lot better than they do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I guess you've got a right to give somebody advice then. But they have a right to refuse that advice.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, that might be a stupid move. But then again, the advice you might be giving them might not actually be equivalent to their situation. I've found a lot of people have given me advice over the years about things and had no idea what was wrong with me to begin with. So it's just like, unless you know what you're dealing with, who you're dealing with, and know exactly how to help them, you can't frickin' help them to a large degree. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest lessons I learned on the street as an activist is no emotional attachment to people's acceptance of the truth.
Yeah.
Okay? If you're emotionally invested in somebody going, yeah, of course 9/11's an inside job, and you start getting angry and vitriolic and things like that, you're going to do damage to the concept of 9/11 being an inside job by appearing like a crazed zealot, and you'll build up an image in that person's mind that they'll then categorize anybody else who says 9/11's an inside job and instantly dismiss them, and that's now thanks to you, you moron.
Yep.
Okay? And the same goes for any other thing that you're preaching. You're preaching about the flat earth? Go for your life, son. If you're abusing people and, rhetorically just ranting and that kind of thing, best of luck. It's not going to work. It hasn't worked before in the entirety of human history to convince people of ideas, ranting at them, being angry at them, that kind of thing. Because those people don't understand your ideas. They simply accept what you're saying out of fear, which means they have no idea what you actually said. They're just doing what they're told.
Yep.
That's the difference between knowing and believing. Is that belief usually is triggered in somebody else, like a person, not something that's higher or whatever. The reason why the Constitution mentions God is for legal reasons, not spiritual reasons. I mean, imagine these rights are endowed by God. Okay, then you've got a subsequent government. No, we can override God, Mm-hmm. You can't do it legally and lawfully.
Still to this day, even if there's a better way of doing it. No. God said it was okay. This is what God. No, we've kind of come a long way since those days. There may be a better way of doing it. One can only hope. I mean, one would argue in a lot of ways we've actually gone completely backwards. For example, back in those days, there was no Federal Reserve. There was no Department of Homeland Security. Oh, everything's changed. Everything's totally changed. And like I said, I don't know if it's for the better or worse. I am enjoying technology. It's pretty fun. But other than that, man, the advances in that.
I enjoy technology for one reason. It's an augmented reality. For example, I could conceivably draw pictures of myself by hand and then narrate and write and so on and so forth, and maybe put those things together and show someone a comic book or whatever, because that would be the limit of my technological achievement if what we had was, say, pencils and paper and that kind of thing. But we got new shit now. And what's happened now, because of the last maybe 20 years of technological development, basically since the birth of YouTube, to put it bluntly, the birth of YouTube and Facebook, all media of the alternative kind, specifically activist media, has become, let's say it's now got access to a lot more, but there are a lot of people within those fields who don't take advantage of that access, who don't take advantage of the technology, who don't say, you know what, maybe it's worth spending a couple of hours learning how to use Skype or learning how to open up a Facebook account or a YouTube or a Patreon or something like that. Maybe if I just took like 1 hour out of my life to bring these technological achievements and these new tools into my skill set, maybe it'll make the rest of my life just that much easier. Maybe? Definitely. All right? For example, I proved this to myself. I went out on the street one time with a megaphone and I didn't film it. Nothing happened. I went out with a megaphone and I filmed it and got 10,000 hits. You know, something happened.
Yeah.
The same thing, doing the exact same thing, but just recording it and publishing it afterwards.
Yep.
Okay? Just that makes what we do have even greater effect. And one of the most important things about being an activist is to be effective, right?
Yeah.
You've got limited time, you've got limited money, you've got limited this, that, and the other. All right? Stop freaking wasting your time doing things that barely make a difference and start investing time in things that do. It's very simple.
Yes,
but a lot of the elder generation aren't cool with that idea. They're stuck in their old ways and they don't want to change with the times. They think that they can change the times. It's like, no, the times change you. And if you deny that, you're going to be stuck.
Yeah.
Doing the exact same thing that you've been doing for the last 40, 50 odd years or whatever, completely ineffectively. You know, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what is possible. And you won't listen either, which makes it all the more frustrating for anybody who tries to help you.
Yep. Exactly. Well, I got to wrap this up. We got a bunch going on this evening with our School of the Mystics deal that we got to get ready for here shortly. Vinny Eastwood, I appreciate you coming on. Always a pleasure to talk with you, man. Go ahead and share your links out. Let people know where they can tune into your broadcast as well. There's people mentioning in the comment section that they've already went over there and subscribed to your channel. They really appreciate you. So go ahead and give your links out and stuff like that where people can track you down on social media and follow your work.
Patreon.com/Vinny Eastwood. And that way you get a list of all my unlisted videos, which is over 100, I think, now. And you get added into the secret Vinny Eastwood show group on Facebook, where I publish new stuff and exclusive stuff. And you can also then suggest guests for the show. And it's starting from $1 a month. You give $100 a month, $500 a month, you don't get any more rewards because everything's being put out there for free for people anyway. And these are just the freebies, the stuff that I can't release because the person who I recorded with them said, no, you can't do that, you can't do that.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's the kind of stuff that I'm not allowed to release. My listeners are at least allowed to listen to if they are a donor. And my main website is thevinnyeastwoodshow.com. That's Vinny with a Y because it's the most important question. And Eastwood, like, go ahead, make my news. And on there, you can basically search up in the little corner bracket there the name of pretty much anybody that you can think of that'd be really cool to listen to. You know, and then you can go see. And there's a lot of different subjects and things that have been carried on over the years. Everything from archons to zeitgeist. It's all in there.
Yep.
From A to Z, mate. And,
I know. You know a little bit of anything. So essentially we can talk about anything on those topics and you can do episodes upon episodes on it because you're studied and you've talked with the experts in all those fields, man. That's why I enjoy talking with you. Every show, I think it's kind of like mine too a little bit. Like we've in this place where we just love conversation. We love to learn. We love dialogue. And like we have people on from all walks of life. You could be talking about, you know, financial decisions one day and how to be successful, and then the next day you're talking about archons and all kind of.
Did you miss out on having a positive male role model for all or most of your childhood?
Yes.
Yeah, so did I. Why do you think we're so interested in talking to older guys who are sharing knowledge with us and stuff like that and being amenable? Because we're trying to catch up on becoming men.
Yeah, I think so, man. How was you in school as far as books and studying and
I got suspended from high school 17 times.
Yeah. And then so now that's over and out the way. Now you're the whole studying chapter came later, right? Into whether it's esoteric stuff or political stuff or whatever the case is. For me, I didn't learn to study until way after high school, you know? But I had a love for it for the first time of like Like,
right, basically, what they try to do is they try to kill your interest in study when they raise you and when they school you. All right, essentially, they're trying to cult indoctrinate you into thinking, "Oh, boring stuff is something that I have to do and I don't have a choice about," and blah 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 blah
yeah.
blah. No, that's not the way the frickin' world works. That's the way cult indoctrination works. You found out different after the fact because you met somebody, maybe a bunch of people, who told you different, and what they told you totally agreed with what you were thinking, and that caused you to change yourself. They didn't change you; you changed yourself, and they simply allowed you to see that you could. All right, and that's what a whole lot of learning is really about. How do we change ourselves and make ourselves better? Because we're the only ones that we're actually responsible to do that for. Apart from our kids, of course. And if you've not taken care of your kids, if you're not loving them, and if you're not filling them full of knowledge and helping them become adults, you're not doing your job.
Yep. That's it. Vinny Eastwood, thank you for coming on, bro. I appreciate you.
Cheers, brother.
We'll do it again.
See ya.
All right. I don't think we're done yet. Let's see. I gave him permission. Okay. There we go. Can you guys see me? Maybe. Yeah, we're good on the video end. Cool, we're good. Still going. Yeah, Vinny Eastwood, like I said, man, at the beginning of the show, when I first came out of the Christian rap thing, that was my first major interview. I went on his show, and so that was really cool. Early on, and I really appreciate what he does and what he brings to the table. So, I'm reading through some of these comments. Thanks everybody holding us down in the comments section. Thank you, Christy Folks, for hanging out too and sending me those donations. That's awesome. Thank you so much for believing in my work to do that. Allie and Kenny, Home Sauce, Christy Lee, Jennifer Moore, Adam Starseed Bay, everybody who's holding us down in the chat live. So yeah, we're going to be doing the School of the Mystics here in about 30 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and get that link sent out for you people who are listening live. If y'all want to join, if you're a patron, which I think the majority of you guys hold me down right now are patrons. So I'm going to go ahead and get that link sent out so everyone can join. Also want to talk to you guys really quick, and this is kind of synchronistic too. We're going to be doing a CE5 contact initiative. We're going to be hosting our own event. We're going to go out and do some stargazing, and we're going to make contact with the angelic beings that are watching over us. And so this is something that I've been doing for some years now, and it's been a little while since I've done it, and I've been wanting to get back out there and do it. And I told myself that I was going to do it on the next new moon. But just so happened some friends were commenting on something and thought that it would be really cool to go out and do that if we all did like a global meditation and awakening. So we're going to do it. So it's going to happen. I think, let me go ahead and pull the date up right quick just so I'm not off on this date. I got it marked down. So it's going to be on the new moon of May, which is May the 15th is what we're going to do at 8 p.m. Central. And I'll probably just go live on YouTube here, and it's not going to be something just to watch. If you're just watching it to watch, it's going to be it's not going to be entertaining at all, but it'll be something that will come on and lead in a group meditation and go out under the night sky. So whatever city you're in, wherever you are, if you have to go out to a ballpark somewhere or a field or somewhere to get away from a lot of light pollution around you, make sure that you do that. If you want to have your cell phone with you or whatever the case is. And so we'll go out and lead in a group meditation, and we're going to make contact. And so essentially what I've been doing for years, I'm going to do it now for a group online, worldwide, wherever you are. So the new moon is on May the 15th, and we'll be doing that. I'll have some promo stuff out there. I'm going to be talking about it some more. So really excited. And a lot of other people have been talking about this in the chat too. So that's really, really cool. So be the spirit of expectation, man, expecting something to happen, expecting to make contact, expecting to have an encounter with the angelic host, our guardian angels, whatever you want to call them, right? I think the names are interchangeable in my book. Aliens. Don't tell nobody I said that. We're going to be contacting aliens. I didn't say that, guys. I said angels. Listen, May the 15th, 8 p.m. Central. I'll go live on YouTube, but like I said, it's not going to be nothing to watch. I know you're not going to see nothing cool, but you're going to get the audio, and we'll be live for a little bit. I'm going to go out just to have my own encounter as well, so we're going to do it together. Make sure you have a time where you have to put the kids in bed early or whatever it is, just to kind of get away, go into the backyard if you can just see the sky. And so the reason I picked the new moon, just a few different reasons. First of all, for light pollution, with the new moon, the moon is usually not visible or just barely visible, so that we can see more stars during a new moon. So during stargazing, it's the best time to go out. Also, too, biblically, it's a time of rest. So one of the Sabbaths is from each new moon to the next. So we'll kind of be honoring this place of rest to go out there and be refreshed and rejuvenated and kind of get in the spirit together in that time of rest. So that'll be good too. So that's why we're doing it on the new moon. I'm excited about this. This is going to be a global thing. I'm going to probably do Facebook events, and I'll be promoting it on YouTube however I can. So I'm excited about it. I hope you are too. Reading the comments, you guys sound very excited. So it's going to be good. Yeah, with that being said, I'm going to say thank you for everybody watching, tuning in live, listening to the broadcast on the podcast app. What's up, everybody who hasn't caught us live yet? Thanks everybody for supporting the work through Patreon, patreon.com/truthseeker. That's what enables me to continue doing this. So anywhere from $1, $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever you want to do, man, it will help me immensely to keep this going and growing. Trust me, man, there's some big things in the work. We're going to hopefully be doing some traveling here soon. So to take the CE5 initiative, I've been asked to do some activations to travel out of state, and there's big plans for what we're building here. The online Mystic School, we're gonna hope to travel with that. Wouldn't that be awesome? So yeah, if you want to do that, patreon.com/truthseeker, there you can sign up. Yeah. With that being said, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Let everybody know that, I guess the updates to the stream, I'm going to be going live every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. for the most part. Some people's schedules don't gel right. Vinny's on the other side of the planet, so we had to kind of change the time accordingly. So, but yeah, I have the stream schedule updated at truthseeker.com. Go there and you'll see like a calendar, just a list of events. And so I have the School of the Mystics there, each interview. So May is almost all like booked up the whole month, almost. I think I got one day and I'm waiting on a confirmation, and there'll be 2 episodes a week, every Tuesday and Thursday. We also do the Christy Lee podcast on her radio show on Wednesday nights as well. Every Wednesday night I'm doing that. I will say, last night was one of the first ones that I listened to one back because the spirit was moving last night. Last night was a really good episode. So if you guys want to check that out, Christy Lee, go to tapintunein.com. That's Christy Lee's website. So I'll see you guys shortly, everybody over in the School of the Mystics. Really looking forward to this, guys. It's going to be good. With that, peace and blessings, y'all. See y'all soon.
Your way so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine, so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the Truth Seeker podcast, head over to truthseeker.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/truthseeker.